How's it going? It's me, Mike the Mapmaker, and this is episode 2 of Quest Bonanza, the series where I randomly generate maps and quests that you can use at your table immediately after watching the video. You just click the link below and you download. So what are we doing this week? Well, let's check the cards and let's check the dice to find out more. Alright, here's my special little tarot box, and I've got a new D12. I'm going to enhance it with some natural magics. There we go, shucka shucka. Let's see what location we get. That is an 11. An 11, of course, that lines up to an urban environment. We're going into an urban place, so somewhere in a city or a town or something. Next up, I'm going to super shuffle the deck. The tarot needs to be shuffled each time, so they get fresh energy. I'm going to try a new technique today. I'm going to drop them into 6 separate piles, and then I'm going to roll a brand new D6 to determine which one to draw from. Here we go. Here comes the D6. And it's a 6 on the D6. So that means we'll go for this one here. So now I'm going to get rid of everything else, draw the top card, and it reveals the Barbarian. We have drawn the Barbarian in an urban environment, and the Barbarian, of course, is a class in D&D. It's represented by strength and rage and all that passion. If we look in the book, I'm going to give you a little tarot reading today, my friends. This card, yeah, it's all about strength, but also about exhaustion. So I know things are tough right now in the world. If you're feeling a bit exhausted, well, just keep on moving. Remember, the Barbarian has to keep attacking to maintain that rage. You have to just keep putting one step in front of the other, I reckon. Well, that's my advice for you today. Let's get to it. Okay, that's an interesting combination, and thinking about it, I think I've got our premise. Here we go. Imagine your PCs are in a city, and they hear tell of a battle arena, an underground pit fight. The current champions are a set of twins whose rage knows no bounds. Anyone who goes up against them is torn apart in a storm of fury. It would be madness to even challenge this duo, but if you did, and you won, well, not only would you gain a lot of gold for your trouble, you'd be the most famous person in the city, maybe even the kingdom. So that seems pretty intriguing, right? If I'm an adventurer, I think I might definitely want to check that out. But your adventurers might be a little bit cowardly, shall we say, invested in other things. Well, don't worry, we can change it up to make sure they find it irresistible. If gold and fame doesn't motivate your PCs, well, how about this pit fight is run by a noble family, a really rich family in the city who controls a lot of stuff. And if you win and you best their champions, perhaps they'll grant you a boon. They'll take a request and they'll try and fulfill it. They'll essentially grant a wish that's within their realm of possibility. So what else could we do with that? Well, maybe your PCs are on a quest and they vitally need some information. Maybe our noble family are a bunch of criminals and they kidnap an NPC that your players love. Or maybe this family's so rich and powerful they have magical items at their disposal. A gallery of magical items, and they'll give you one if you win. That could really turn the tide and the adventure your players are already on. A magical dragon-slaying sword, something like that. Whoo-wee! Who would turn that down? That's probably a bit loud. What player would turn that down? Only a boring fool, I'd wager. Well, let's get to Incarnate and see what sort of map I can make for us this week. So, we are beginning with a square. I was thinking about this, and I want to make this arena have some unusual shapes, but I'm grounding it with a big square there, and I'm imagining we have the arena in the center, and then we have lots of seats for the punters, the crowd, to react and watch from the sides. So all around, we're going to add these extra little benches made of stone, these stone seats, and that's where the crowd will be. At the north there, I've added a weird little extra shape. That is going to be the VIP balcony, where special NPCs can watch from above. And you know they can do that classic Emperor style thing where, oh, you give them a thumbs up, you give them a thumbs down, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. You can do that from that VIP stat. So I'm going to spend a bit of time arranging these stone benches all around the arena. It's going to be the most time-consuming part of this map. It's going to give me a bit of trouble at the end there, but I think the end result's going to work out quite well for itself. On the outside, we also have these stone staircases, lots of places where our NPCs can go in, go out, and of course, if your PCs aren't all fighting together, some might be watching from the stands as well. Now I'm going to start to actually look at the details of the battle pit itself, the arena, and I'm going to add this mysterious metal tubing in the centre. It'll all be clear later. I'm also going to add some traps to this location. I'm going to put some spinning saw blades in the corners of this nook so you don't want to get trapped in there. I'm also going to add some large weapons, a couple of ballistae, and now I'm going to figure out a few walls and structures that your players can interact with. We don't want it to be just a big empty pit, that might be a bit dull. I'm going to add a bit more texture underneath the dirt as well, as if the dirt has just been haphazardly placed on the tiles. And now it's starting to come together. We've got some flimsy wooden walls and a couple of siege towers that I'm just using as watchtowers to add a bit of elevation to this map as well. In the corners of the arenas, I've added some pit traps and I'm putting some metal grates over them. I've also added a lever up north as well. It's not going to be a symmetrical map. And now I think every map needs a bit of difficult terrain, so I'm adding some broken down wooden walls as well as some stone rubble on the sides. This will slow down any creature that goes over it, and I think that's important to give a bit of diversity for the map. Okay, now we're just adding some extra detailing, adding some fun little bits. Up here, the nobles, they'll have their fancy chairs and wine. And we also got a bunch of banners and flags around, bit of branding, I suppose, for the arena. And this is where I really go wrong, because what I'm trying to do now is I want there to be sort of that feeling that we're sloping down. So what I do is I make a bunch of different areas around the stone chairs where I darken the floor to make it look darker the higher up we are, to give it a bit of a consistent feel in terms of elevation, and it just gets out of control. It becomes way too complicated, and ultimately I actually don't think it makes that much of a difference. I do like this little stone edge I'm doing there, dividing it all up, but honestly I think the vignette we're going to add in a second will do all of this anyway, so I feel like maybe I overcooked the seats a little bit. But hey, a great learning experience at the very least. And now the map is almost done. We're going to start to go around in a second and add extra details. This looks way too clean for me. This is going to be full of, you know, the dregs of society, people who like brutal sports, and so we're going to add all sorts of rubbish and markings on the floor. So yeah, prepare yourself for this. Here we go, bottles and pieces of paper and all sorts of scrap. Yeah, we're going to take this lovely arena, we're going to make it nasty, we're going to make it dirty. This is the sort of place you wouldn't want to take your nan, I tell you that now. And ultimately the end thing I'm going to do is add some lighting, and overall this took about 3 hours to make. Now let's take a look at the final result. Okay, now the map's done, I'm getting a little bit excited to kill our players. I mean, give our players a great time that they're going to remember forever. So, we've got our premise. Let's say our players get invested in it. They go check it out. They sign up, and as a group, they challenge this terrifying duo. Well, they walk through the iron gates to the arena, and it's enormous. They hear the crowd. The crowd's booing, it's cheering, it's a bit of a mix. Some of them want to see these underdogs take on the champs and win, but a lot of other people are just excited to see how your PCs will be torn apart. Looking up, you see the VIP balcony, and there one of those weird nobles stands, their voice magically enhanced, and they boom across the noise and cacophony. The rules are simple. Kill or be killed. Begin. With that, the crowd goes ballistic, and suddenly the gate across from our players opens up slowly, the metal creaking. And suddenly they see two huge shadowy figures emerge. These aren't regular pit fighters. These aren't regular gladiators. They're facing off against two horrible bull hybrids, two minotaurs. As the minotaurs step out, the crowd reaches a crescendo. It's so loud your eardrums are hurting, dust is falling from the ceiling, and with that, the minotaurs charge our players. Roll for initiative. So we're going to be fighting the Minotaur, the mighty Minotaur of legend! There are different types of Minotaurs in different books. Whichever one you go for, I don't think particularly matters. The main thing for me is that they love to get angry and they love to charge their enemies. You also want to make sure that your Minos have the ability to forcibly move the PCs about the battlefield. While the Minotaurs are of course very dangerous foes, we want the arena to be dangerous as well. In the centre, we have a dynamic trap, a spinning blade like in Prince of Persia. This blade trap moves during combat. So roll initiative for it alongside the Minotaurs, and on the blade trap's turn, well, it'll move back and forth from one side of the arena to the other. The blade trap, well, it takes up a 10 by 10 foot square, and any creature that it passes through or ends its movement on is forced to do a dex save, and on a fail takes terrible damage, and on a success that damage is halved. Either way, that creature is shunted 5 feet out and is knocked prone. Now this blade trap can be attacked and it can be destroyed, but how tough it is, well, I'll leave that to you and the state your players are in when it becomes relevant. If your players are really taking a beating out there, maybe just have it be a one-hit thing. They hit it, low AC, it goes down, no longer a problem, especially if it's been shredding them like crazy. Next up, we have these wooden walls that can be used as full cover, which is great for popping out and launching ranged attacks at the miners. Watch out though, because these walls are frail. They're only made of wood. As long as your Minotaur has a bit of a run-up, I'd allow them to barrel straight through, attacking the PC on the other side with advantage. Cross out that wall and list it as difficult terrain from that point on. Speaking of difficult terrain, we already have a few squares of the map with wood wreckage from previous battles. So these tiles act as difficult terrain and slow whoever goes over them, and act as a bit of a visual foreshadow for what can happen with the walls that are currently standing. Other features? We have 2 ballista with 1 loaded bolt in. Dexterous characters will want to use these powerful weapons before the Minotaurs get to them, but watch out! In this nook, the Minos can punt our players into one of the spinning war blades on the side. Uh-oh! There is a bit of elevation with this map. We have these 2 wooden towers. Once again, the Minos can smash right through these flimsy structures. And the final threat? At the corners, we have metal grates with large hinges bolting them to the stone walls. If our PCs get near, they can see a spiked pit below. Deadly. But seemingly safe while the grates are in place. But can you guess what this lever might do, folks? That's right, when pulled, anyone stood on any of the grate tiles plunges to their doom. So what's the game plan, Dungeon Masters? Well, here's what I think. We have our Minotaurs charge straight out of the gate, but they're not clones of each other. I'm imagining them being like the brothers from Final Fantasy VIII. One big and one smaller. The big one should be a brute powered by its rage. It's easy to hit, but has an enormous health pool. As it takes damage, I'd have it become stronger as its rage builds and builds. The big one is simple then. It charges at the enemy and knocks them into traps. That's its whole ideology. If it's not doing that, then it's running through walls, destroying them and surprising the PCs. The smaller Minotaur is more cunning. It'll go straight for one of the ballistas and launch at a squishy spellcaster or rogue. Once that's done, if the other ballista is still loaded, it'll head to that one and repeat. Once they are both spent, well, then it'll start attacking. But here's the rub. It's going to hang around the lever in the middle of the map. So, if our PCs are careless and the initiative is in your favor, DM, then the big guy punts a PC onto the grate, and then the little guy pulls the lever on his turn, and that plunges our PCs downwards. Now, if you don't want this to be super lethal, well, that's okay. Perhaps the PC, instead of falling to their doom, drops something important like their weapon into the pit, or a spell book, lost for the battle, and they cling to the edge desperately, needing someone to come and help them, or at the very least, a high DC athletics check to see if they can pull themselves up. Wow, this seems pretty deadly, and you know what? It is. But there's the rub. If these traps are scary and intimidating, well, don't worry. Your players can turn the tides and use them against the Minotaurs. So if your players are tactical, they can lure the big Minotaur into the pit traps and the spinning blades. And in fact, DMs, I would reward good ideas, like holding an action, dodging out of the way of the charge at the last second. That would be a good way to lure them in. I mean, they could do intimidation checks to try to enrage the Minotaur to make bad decisions and charge into traps the players have set up. All that good stuff. And that is it, an urban barbarian quest and map just for you. Check the link below, download it, give it a go, tell me what you think. I had a lot of fun making this one, not on the steps, that took way too long, but hey, you learn as you go, don't you? I hope you liked that video, gang. If you've not already, give us a like and a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff you know, really helps out me. I'm a very baby YouTube channel, I need your support if I'm gonna get through the next battle to the death. I'm Mike the Mapmaker, thanks for watching, keep on trucking, and I'll see you next time.